Hello, hello. We are live and grateful to be here. It looks like, okay, no problem. We're live and grateful to be here. We want to welcome Kristie Reph here. She is a nurse by trade, now turned financial expert, helping people to get out of debt, create financial freedom, and just breathe again, right? So we are so excited to have you on and hear about your story and some tips about how we can do that. I mean, I think this is the perfect time because it's the new year and everybody's looking at creating new goals. Getting out of debt is often a big one of those. And so I'm really excited for this conversation. Welcome to the stage today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. And Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to everyone. Well, Kristie, start us off by telling us a little bit about you and how did you go from being a nurse to switching into financial education and impact?
Well, I was a nurse from 2012. My diploma actually says 12, 12, 12 is when I got my diploma. So that's a little bit of numbers there. But it was funny. I looked at that the other day. I was like, oh, that's funny. But anyway, before I became a nurse in 2011, I went to a workshop, and it was Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. And so my husband and I had started on the journey of becoming debt free then. But of course, I wasn't making enough money. And, before I became a nurse, like I said. And then we fell off the wagon, as most addictions happen. And so in 2014, I decided, enough. Something's got to give. We got to stop living paycheck to paycheck. I'm making 3 times the amount that I am, than I was a couple of years ago. So why are we still not able to make it? I don't understand. So when I started to type everything into
it's a little bit of a break here.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yep, you're back.
Okay. But when I was going through my expenses and putting everything down in black and white, we were over $280,000 in debt.
This is like including your house as well?
No, ma'am. My house has been paid for. No.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That is a number. I feel like everybody listening. Actually, I love it when people share numbers like this because I'm like, wow, if I can do it, you can do it. That's what it sounds like here. So that's insane.
Definitely. So the reason I'm telling you this is because it was an extremely shocking and daunting path to have to go on. And my family didn't even know. I kept this under close wraps to my heart because it was disgusting. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
That a person with, all of my degrees, I couldn't figure out how to get us out of this kind of paycheck to paycheck living. And I realized that it's not just about the numbers, that it's about a journey and helping people to figure out the emotion behind the money,
Yeah.
So that led me on the path to becoming debt free. And when I got closer to becoming debt free, all of my nurse friends were like, well, how are you doing that? What's going on? How do we do this? And so I was answering those sort of questions, and I realized it was kind of like an aha moment. Like, this is generational knowledge.
Yeah.
And so when I was going through all of this, like I said, it occurred to me I can help more people going through this than I could by nursing, because when I nurse someone, it's only one person at a time, and it's the head, what we call the head in the bed.
Right.
And you can only affect that person at that time. But with helping people with their finances and developing those skills, you're helping them for generations. they teach their kids, they teach their parents, whatever the case may be. And that's why I decided to make that change, that transition.
Wow, that's fascinating story. And I want to get into obviously the how did you do that? Just like all of your nurse friends were asking you, because that's an incredible feat. But first, I want to ask you how long. Well, a couple things. Why do you think people are stuck in that cycle? And I'm curious also about how long it took you to get out of that or to get completely debt free.
Um, there's usually a lot of reasons, but in my case, when you look in the dictionary under the definition of shopaholic, it was my picture.
Okay.
Um, I did a post on Facebook just the other day. It's like you stop and think about the things that you did, like going to Ross's or to TJ Maxx and spending $200 and not thinking twice about it. There's very few things on my list of debts that A, I still have, or B, I even know what they were.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons why people get into those cycles. Some of it's emotional, some of it's addiction, some of it is just not knowing how to do things. I talk to a lot of people and they have no idea of what to do because our education system does not teach that. Our parents kept it as hush hush to their chest. It's like, why weren't you teaching me what a mortgage was, how to budget? Why weren't you teaching me what an electric bill is, how to even get into a utility? How do we sign up for a utility? We don't know.
Right. Yeah. It's so fascinating how none of that is taught in our educational system, really. And I imagine it also goes beyond those simple things, because my family taught me how to budget. They taught me how to make money. They taught me how to budget. I was really fortunate in terms of just having an entrepreneur father and all that. And my mom was like, and my church community was really into budgeting. But in terms of investments, long term, besides just live paycheck to paycheck, like you're saying, I imagine there's so many other things that go into it, because yes, my family's like, this is how you make a living. This is how you work hard. Here's how you do a budget so that you can stay in it. But beyond that, it's like, we didn't know much about investing. We don't know much about savings, and there's so many other pieces that have opened up over the years as I've looked into finances and money and all of that. So I imagine also with inflation, the way that it is and all the things going on, there's more layers than just that one thing. Is that right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. You have to get into the psyche of the person, that understanding what their thought process is. And maybe it's not emotional, maybe it is just something that they're not familiar with how to do, as far as budgeting or investments, or whatever you have to say. But the issue is that you have to get beyond just the topical black and white numbers. That's what I say. It's not always about the numbers.
Yes. Well, so tell us, how did you get out of debt and how do you help people do that? Because you mentioned Dave Ramsey, he has his way of doing things, and there's other people have their way of doing things. But for you, how long did it take you to get out of debt, and how did you do that?
Well, I realized that very quickly when I looked at my numbers that even just the nursing salary was not going to make it. So I became a travel nurse. So I spent 8.5 years on the road, going to different states and different cities. And every 3 to 4 months, I was changing locations. And that did two things. Well, several things, but two main things. It showed me the country on the hospital's dime. And I also was able to make enough money to make those bills go away. The third thing that it did was put me into an RV, which was a 35-foot box where you can't buy things just because you want to buy things. You know what I mean? You have to have a place for it, and you have to have an understanding of where it goes in your system, and that's that sort of thing. So it really made me change my mindset, and I've helped my clients to change that mindset of, is this a want or is this a need? Do you want this item or do you need this item? There's a difference. And to answer your second question, it took me 8.5 years to get out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
I say that with a caveat because I didn't understand what a financial coach was. And I didn't understand that there were even people out there that could help me with that sort of thing. I probably was told it early on when I went through the Dave Ramsey classes, but people forget those sort of minute details.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So I could have probably done it a whole lot quicker than what I did.
So
It was not hardcore beans and rice like Dave talks about, being gazelle intense. And I probably should have been so that I could be in a better position than I am now. But, live and learn.
well, yeah, and I imagine that most people, a lot of people listening right now, don't want to, they do want to enjoy life at the same time, and while that is an important goal, maybe you don't want to be eating beans and rice for 8 years just to say that you're debt free. Maybe you want to have some different strategies for that so that you can actually enjoy your life and, be able to build a business or share things with family or travel, like you're saying. And so what would you say for the average person that comes to work with you? What would you say are the biggest 3 or 4 biggest things that you tell them to do whenever they come to you?
You have to get it out on black and white, first off. That's the bottom line. You have to be able to see what is going on. And a lot of people call that a budget. I don't choose to call it a budget. I have coined the phrase spending plan. It's your spending plan. You're telling your money where it goes, where it comes and where it goes. So when you give somebody that definition of a spending plan, they tend to take that a little bit easier than a budget, because a budget kind of has a negative connotation to it, So you have to know where your money is coming and going, like I said. And if you don't know that, then you don't know where you're going. You don't understand the journey. So what I say to people is, think about going to an airport, going to the ticketing counter and saying, give me a ticket. They're going to look at you like you have 3 heads. Where do you want to go? When do you want to go? How do you want to get there? You know what I mean? Like, there's all these questions. So you have to know where you're going, where you're starting to know where you're going as well.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the sort of things that I had to step back and look at, was putting it into an Excel spreadsheet, putting it in black and white. This is what it is, and this is where we're going.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And so tell me, you talked a lot about mindset shifts as well, and maybe even this idea of addiction, but what would you say are some of the biggest mindset things that are going on with people in terms of, where their money's going, why they are in debt, why they can't get out of debt?
A lot of it has to deal with, 90% of things have to deal with when you were brought up, how money was talked about when you were brought up. So, the famous quotes of money doesn't grow on trees and we can't afford that. And, do you think there's a money tree planted in the backyard? That was another one. Yes. So you have to get all of those kind of old, quote unquote, old records out of your head and understand that money is just energy, and you have to be able to direct it. And if you don't direct it, the universe will direct it for you, and that's the biggest issue that I find with people, is that they don't understand that they have to take control of it. They don't want to look at it.
Right. Because like you said, it's embarrassing. It's maybe there's a lot of shame around it. You don't know how you got there. It also probably feels really overwhelming for a lot of people as well. And talk to me a little bit more about our current state of inflation and how people's, just in general, it's more difficult for our paychecks to keep up with what the expenses that are going on. Do you find that that's a problem for people, or it's slowing things down, or how do you help them through that?
I do find that is definitely an issue, especially in people that have fixed incomes. They're trying to understand more about what's going on with their money so that they can get a handle on it. So one of the biggest things is like grocery stores. When you go to the grocery store, it can be as much as 20% more now. And I tell them that they have to start looking at what's going on with their eating patterns. So, like, is there a meal plan you can come up with where it's like a meatless Monday, or, different creative things you can do to twist that around and get your spending at the grocery store under control? And a lot of people would buy 2 or 3 of the same thing and put them in the freezer. Can you do that and save money to do that? Or is that something you're going to have to go once a week and get it, as you need it, versus buying bigger things in bulk?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's just looking for different creative solutions to what you're seeing as the pattern in your budget, in your spending plan.
Yes. Well, very, very good. So, what's the biggest advice that you would give people in terms of their money and their finances getting, let's say, for example, it's the beginning of the year, right? And people are thinking, I want to get out of debt. Maybe it's not going to be this year. Maybe it's going to take a few years like yours did. But what would you say to someone who has that on their checklist as one of their goals to do in the new year?
To definitely start putting all of your receipts in one envelope for 30 days. And the reason I say that is because everything has become so non-tactile now. You don't feel it. You don't know that the money is going away or coming in. So whenever you go to the gas station, don't just beep and beep and gone. Go in and get a receipt if that pump doesn't give you a receipt, because I want you to understand where your money is going. If you get a candy bar or a snack at the convenience store, get a receipt, because that shows you exactly where your money is going.
It kind of reminds me of, whenever they had the little envelopes and you used to do the cash budgeting and stuff, but there's a lot of places that won't even take cash now, which is kind of crazy. So that's an interesting way of just, continuing to keep it tactile. So I'm going to drop if you're interested in connecting with Kristie and talking to her more about this, I got her website right here down below. It's in the description as well. And tell us, for those who want to connect with you about this, tell us just a little bit more about how do you work with people on this issue?
Well, currently we work as one-on-one through, the coaching process. Like I said, figuring out where you are, where you want to go. Your goals are the biggest thing with me, is understanding where you are and where you want to go. And then we, meet a couple of times a month and just talk through things, get your goals in line, get you a few tools that I use to be able to help you through this process as well. And you have to understand that it's a journey, and it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, for those people that like athletic analogies. So it's a matter of figuring out what you want to happen during this process as well.
Yeah, very, very good. Well, thank you so much for this and your inspiring story that it is possible. It may take longer. Unfortunately, it doesn't take, 30 seconds like usually we get things done these days, but it's worth it, and you're able to get past all of this and to feel free. And before we go, can you share with us also just a little bit more of the benefits in terms of, why would people even want to go through this process, since it is a long process? What have you found really motivates people, or the benefits that you've seen yourself that are really motivational to keep people going on this path?
Just to tell you that the stress relief, it feels like a weight of the weight on your shoulders is lifted off finally. You don't have that burden on your chest. You're able to sleep at night where you don't have to think about, where is this money going to come from? Where does that bill, you don't end up in the bad places in your head when you don't owe anybody anything. The debt chains are broken.
Yeah, so total freedom, peace of mind, weight lifted. That sounds fantastic. Well, thank you so much again for coming, Kristie. And for all of you out there, good luck on your 2025 goals. And if this is one of them, then definitely connect with Kristie so she can help you out to do that, because we all deserve to feel that weight lifted, to feel free again and amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.